Hi everyone, it's John Mitchell. In this video we're going to look at the role that leadership plays in managing change successfully. So we've spoken about obviously leadership before plenty of times, especially when we looked at the key management roles and we did leading. So now we're looking at, all right, what role does it actually play in helping manage the change successfully? So remember that leadership is the ability to influence and motivate individuals to achieve organisational objectives. During a change, obviously the organisational objective will be working towards the end result of that particular change. So trying to influence and motivate individuals to embrace the change and work towards a collective goal that everyone's on the same page with. So a leader is able to get all employees on the same page and work towards the same goals. That's what they do really well, really strong leadership. That's what they're able to do really well. Now there will be hurdles along the way and they can overcome them, so when there's resistance, they can overcome resistance. If people have questions, they should be answering questions, all those types of things. That's what strong leaders do. We'll get into those things in a second. But just trying to get everyone on the same page so that we can really make sure that the change is successful. Now, as we've spoken lots of times before in previous videos, that change can cause resistance from employees, and it's really strong leadership can help overcome that resistance by the manager or the leader looking out for the welfare of the employees while still keeping an eye on the overall objective or the new change that's going to be implemented, the new state that the organisation's heading towards. But still, managers or leaders that really still consider, even though they've got that end goal in mind, still considering and looking out for the welfare of employees are more likely to overcome resistance to change. So during times of change, a strong leader, and obviously there's more things than this, but these are just some things that they'll do during time of change, being able to communicate a clear vision with stakeholders. So that's obviously really important so that everyone understands where they're at. Listen to employee concerns, to not just barking orders at them, this is the change, this is what's going to occur, actually listening to those concerns, resolving conflicts that can arise as the change is being implemented if employees aren't happy with what's going on, motivating stakeholders on the benefits of the change so that they can really help persuade them and I suppose motivate and influence them to embrace the change, provide support for those that are struggling to adapt, because no doubt depending on what the change is, there'll be different people within the organisation that are really struggling to adapt to that particular change, supporting them through that, and then focusing on the needs of employees, which we've spoken about. Now, the rest of this video, I suppose I want you to know that you need to be able to apply leadership to different parts of the change content, because really, or there's been a question in the past about, what role does leadership play in Kotter's theory. So you need to be able to look at how leadership is important in the whole change process. So obviously it's important to be able to apply leadership, and we've got different parts of the change content that we need to do that. So here are just a couple of examples. So what role does it play in reducing resistance to change? I've spoken about that briefly, but being open and honest, communicating clearly to the resistors, motivating and inspiring people towards a change, and even, supporting those that are struggling, those types of things that we've already spoken about. So that can help reduce the resistance to change, and that's the role leadership can play. So if you do get a question and says, well, what role can leadership play in managing resistance to change, then they're the kind of things that you can probably speak about. Then, another example, and this is more based on the exam question from a few years ago. So how is leadership important in the change process? And, remember the change process, here's just a couple of the steps: creating vision, communicating the vision, removing obstacles and empowering employees. That's sort of, the whole thing is about, of Kotter's theory is managing the change process to try and overcome resistance, celebrate short-term wins, and get the whole organisation to move towards the change and then embed it in the culture. So, you could apply the leadership to any single one of his 8 steps, but there's just a couple of examples. Obviously creating a vision, being able to communicate that vision shows really strong leadership, so that we want to communicate to the employees what the actual change is going to be, the impact it's going to have on them, the benefits that it's going to have for the organisation and the employees and all the other stakeholders. And that's really strong leadership, getting out of the office and then answering any questions that employees have. That they're the kind of things that that strong leadership can do, and in the change, how you can apply it to the change process. So that I just want you to be thinking about, as we're doing leadership, don't just look at it in isolation, look at it about the whole change process and how it can actually be applied to the content that you're learning during the change management section of the course. So for questions, activities or more on this video, come on over to teachingbubble.com.